So I have no choice but to email this to you because it keeps saying my Adobe Flash Player crashed, and I have no idea how to fix that. So yeah. So for my 3 site visits, I decided to do all daycares. I wanted to look at the difference between the public, the private, and the church run, because I don't know if I want to just work with deaf children, and most deaf children you're going to get to work with are going to be in the public school system, which you said not to try, because it would take too long in the background checks. So yeah. So the first one I went to was the Lafayette Academy in Marietta, and I went to go and see Bree Farley, and I got there kind of late, so I didn't get there when all of the kids were there. So I got to see 2 in particular, and one was severely autistic, and he's the cutest thing, and they're working with him right now on his verbal, because he knows roughly 16 words, and that's really all he's gonna know for a while, so we're working with him on that. He self-harms himself, so he's not a danger to others, but he doesn't really realize that he's doing it. The other child that I met was not on the spectrum. He was just there late because his parents were running late. And it was really interesting to see the way that the child that wasn't on the spectrum interacted with the child that was. He still tried to play with him, and they got along really well. But mostly the child with autism more so kept to himself and wanted to play with the broom. So yeah. Our classroom was really bright. It was really clean. It was super inviting. It had pictures of the kids everywhere. It had certain toys on one side of the room because they would clean it up during the day, and then it had different toys on the other side of the room. Yeah. And then for the second one, I went to go see Cheryl Bergeron at a home run daycare. So they still mix with the government, but they're not in a public setting. So they have a lot more freedom, and it's not a pre-K. So they don't have to answer to that. They also don't really have to accept children with special needs, and they're not really the best place for them because they don't have those funds or that experience that a public run daycare or pre-K would. So if it's in the child's best interest, they probably want to go with the public run. Or private, if it's still accepting government money. As long as they accept government money, they have to accept and help children with special needs as much as they can. My third site visit, I decided to do a church daycare, because it was a Catholic church and they don't have to accept any government money. It's all paid for by the students' families, and they operate under the Catholic school system, so they answer to them. They answer to all those testing. They do follow the school district's furlough days, so if they're closed, they have to close. They also observe certain religious holidays. They incorporate religion into most of the subjects that they try to teach, whereas at a public daycare or pre-K, you're really not going to see that. You're going to see like the awareness, like you're going to talk about Islam, you know, what Christmas is, but you're not going to incorporate religion really into the lessons, which I thought was really interesting to see how they did it, and how it was just like little things that were thrown in here and there. So I thought it was really interesting the way that they all ran really similar, as in, you know, they followed pretty much the same schedule regardless of where they were. It's just really interesting to see how the kids at the home run daycare were a little bit more reserved than the kids at the public daycare, because there's a big difference in how many kids are there. Whereas at the first one I went to, there were about 12 kids in a room, whereas at the home run they had about 8, and then at the private school it was 8 kids to 1 student. They had 2 teachers, so there was like 16. So those are the 3 sites that I visited. I really like visiting them. I feel like it definitely helped out and let me know what I wanted to do with this major. I think it'd definitely be a good idea to have more warning about them so that we could do public schools, because most people are going to be wanting to teach, and that's where you're really going to find more of the kids with special needs, which is like behavior and learning disabilities, deaf, more of the learning technologies. So I think being able to do public schools would definitely help a lot. I would have liked to do one. But yeah.